Another inspiration of mine was the old master paintings of the Baroque and Renaissance periods. My dad was a painter and he enjoyed looking at those types of paintings. And I just remember looking at those with him and just thinking, wow, that those are just so amazing. I can't believe what they did back in the day, how they could paint a portrait so realistically. And that was just always an inspiration to me, and I wanted to create photography that kind of resembled paintings.
I'm Eric Lipsy, and this is Galt University. Today, I have the pleasure of being here with Barbara MacFerrin of Barbara MacFerrin Photography. How are you today?
Hey, good. Thanks, Eric. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. I'm really glad to have you on today. I know we've known each other for quite a few years now, and it's just been an honor and a privilege to watch your journey as you move through your photography business. But before we get into that, or we'll work our way into that part, but I want to start by maybe if you could share a little bit with us about what inspired you to become a photographer.
Yeah. So I guess my dad was a photographer and he gave me a camera on my 17th birthday, which gosh, I won't do the math, but and ever since then, I just fell in love with photography. I would take pictures of pretty much anything. Then I focused on wildlife and nature and landscapes as a hobby. So it was a hobby for probably let's say about 25 years until I eventually started a portrait business. And another inspiration of mine was the old master paintings of the Baroque and Renaissance periods. My dad was a painter and he enjoyed looking at those types of paintings. And I just remember looking at those with him and just thinking, wow, that those are just so amazing. I can't believe what they did back in the day, how they could paint a portrait so realistically. And that was just always an inspiration to me. And I wanted to create photography that kind of resembled paintings.
Yes. Well, you do a remarkable job at that. Fantastic job, actually. Exceptional. Whatever the best word would be for that, you do it. It is just amazing watching and seeing some of the work that you've done. Now,
Thanks.
when you were first moving into photography, because I know, yeah, I believe you were in IT before, correct?
Mhm.
What was that transition like for you?
Well, yeah, I worked in IT for about a dozen years. Um, for me, it was just a paycheck. It wasn't a passion. So, good health insurance, good benefits and whatnot. So I stayed in that for a while. I went to school for IT as well. So, but then as time went on, I was just getting more and more like disillusioned and just burned out, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
And after I had my daughter in 2013, I took a maternity leave and then I had to go back to work and I was just like so burned out. I didn't want to be away from my daughter all day long. And it was just becoming more and more apparent that I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an odd transition. I quit corporate world and I went back to school to get my master's degree, which has nothing to do with photography, but I guess it's kind of a segue to get out of one thing and just transition into something else. But being in grad school, I was able to take some film classes, video and documentary classes. And so I guess it reignited my passion for film and photography. And not that it ever went away, but it was on the back burner for so long.
Right.
I just didn't do anything with it. So during that time, I thought, why don't I use my photography skills and my passion to do something in that field? And so it just occurred to me, portrait photography, people, pay for their portraits. So yeah, just slowly started a business like that, and I watched some videos and mentors online on how to start a photography business. So that's just kind of where it started, and slowly started my business in late 2016, early 2017, and it's just grown from there, and just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, I guess, just trying to figure it out as I went. So yeah.
I didn't realize that we met shortly after you started your business because I think we met in 2017.
I
So
believe so.
you
You
hadn't
know,
been
yeah,
doing it very long
late
before, at least
20s,
as a business, anyways.
right, 2017, 2018, maybe we met.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I hadn't been doing it that long. Excuse me. Photography was a hobby for many years, but as far as a business, yeah, it just started around 2017.
Okay. Oh, that's
Mhm.
great. Now,
Yeah.
when you were first getting started, on a scale of 10 to 10, how
That's not fair.
scary was it? No, on a scale of 1 to 10, how scary was it, transitioning from, like you were saying, you were getting a regular paycheck to now
Mhm,
doing your own thing, and it's like, hey,
mhm.
you're only good as what you can create, kind of, you only get paid what you can create sort of thing.
Exactly. Mm.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's where that transition was a little different because when I did quit corporate, I went to grad school for a couple of 2.5 years. So during grad school, I was working in the school as an assistant, teaching assistant. So I had various little jobs, and plus I had student loans. So
Mm.
that's what was kind of getting me by, were those little part-time jobs while I was in school. And then, of course, my husband was helping out, but as I was getting close to graduating, I thought, okay, I got to figure out what am I going to do. So there was kind of it's interesting. There was like an overlap period of starting my business, but at the same time, I was still working at the university making documentary films and getting paid through the university to do these like side gigs. So it wasn't like a complete like cut off. And then, so there was, thankfully, there was a bit of overlap in the transition while I was getting the business going. And, but yeah, it was still kind of scary, but I think that's why I did something in between, like quitting corporate. Cause I think that would have freaked me out even more if I'm like, okay, quitting and doing. So yeah, the schooling and that was kind of a transition in between. But it was, so you asked me, yeah, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it was probably at least a 7 or 8. I mean, it still was scary because here now I don't have a regular paycheck. I have to figure this out on my
Right,
own. And
right, yeah.
so yeah, it was definitely, yeah, it was a little bit scary.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, your work is phenomenal, and it has been an honor just to watch your progression over the years and how, how things are going and progressing for you, even
Mhm,
into the teaching, which we'll get into in a little bit. But,
mhm,
I know you've won several awards and well-deserved awards. And I
mhm.
was hoping maybe today you could share some of your work with us and maybe tell us a little bit about the pieces that you submitted
Sure.
for those
Yeah,
awards. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can. Okay. Whoops.
Here we go.
Not sure. Can you see that?
I can. Yeah.
Okay. Not sure if that's in presenter view. Okay. So yeah, these not all of these were necessarily submitted for awards, but it's the type of work that I have submitted in the past.
Still
So
amazing nonetheless. Yeah.
thank you. So a lot of the work I submit for awards come from like model calls. So I'll ask, put out a call for a model or someone who's had some experience modeling. Um, just because models really know how to move their bodies and their hands, and some are more experienced than others. So
Right.
it just makes it a little bit easier to get, what I'm looking for in an image I'm going to submit for competition. Um, so this is a teenager, and she had modeled in the past, so she was very good with having the hand movements very soft, and there's just certain things about fine art photography that where everything's very subtle, the movements, the hand positioning, it's all very soft and I'm not sure what the word is, but it's not like fashion or editorial where everything's really avant-garde and exaggerated.
Mhm.
It's much more subtle and soft and classic. Um, so and the headpiece here, my hair and makeup artist who has been working with me for several years, her name's Teresa. She makes really cool headpieces, and this one was actually made in the studio just on the fly. Like, the model was changing her clothes, and I had a bunch of dried or silk flowers from Michael's, and I'm like, hey, can you just put something in her hair with flowers? And she did that in, like, I don't know, 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've
So
met
like,
Teresa. She's amazing also.
she is, yeah, she really is. So yeah, we it's fun to create these just fun and different looks. Just, obviously not the everyday person's gonna wear something like this, but it's just fun to create something unique for a competition image, or even if a client wanted something like that, we can totally do that.
Absolutely.
Um, actually, this is my daughter, and this is an image that I took during one of my workshops. I teach a lot, and you were gonna ask me about that later, but I do teach workshops here in Boulder, and a lot of times I always bring a model in so that the photographer can photograph them.
Mm.
Occasionally, my daughter steps in because either a model couldn't make it or it was just too last minute to get a model. I'll have my daughter come in for me, which
She's
works
doing a
out.
great job.
Yeah, and it works great. She enjoys doing it, and um, yeah, and she's kind of a lifesaver in case somebody bails out last minute. So, and some of the backgrounds I get through companies who create backgrounds. So this is a background I got from a company, and it looks like an old master painting, which really emphasizes that work in my images. Um, these are actually just client images I wanted to share as well.
Mhm.
Um, so I just kind of wanted to share a variety
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
types of images that I take anywhere, and the subjects I photograph. So anywhere from children to teenagers, young adults, couples. So this was a fun session for well, this couple, they actually haven't been together super long, so they're kind of, in that early stage of
Yeah.
dating. So yeah, it was really fun. Um, this is another model that I photographed in the studio, and again, the flowers. I really like to work with flowers and put them in the hair and just make really cool
Wow,
artwork out of it, I guess.
that's
Yeah, I'm gonna submit. I haven't submitted these yet, but I'm gonna submit this one, I believe. And then I've just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to
I
submit them.
understand, but definitely looks like
Yeah.
you got a winner on your hand for sure.
Thank you. That's fun. This was actually a family I photographed in Florida last year. Um, and that was really fun. And working with children, like really young children, like the baby here, it can be quite challenging sometimes.
I bet.
They just like to move around, and it's tough to get everyone to look at the same time
Right.
at the camera. So sometimes I actually, in post production, I have to swap eyes or heads, which sounds kind of weird. But if I have a photograph where everyone's looking but one person, and that one is just the best one, if only that one person was looking, what I'll do is I'll look at, because I take a series of photos, I don't just take one, I take several. So then if there's another photo in that same series where that person is looking and it looks good, then I'll swap that head into the image where everybody was looking. And you can't tell. So I can't remember if I swapped any heads in this one. I might have actually with the baby, but yeah, I do it in a way that you obviously can't tell. So that's kind of fun. It's
No,
like
you can
putting the
tell it all. Looks great. Yeah, it looks like the
thank
baby
you.
was just being very photogenic.
Yeah, it's like putting a puzzle together sometimes. This is I have a program, or I'm sorry, what am I trying to call it? An experience called the 40 over 40 experience, where
Yes.
I'm wanting to photograph 40 women over the age of 40 this year. And at the end of that I'm going to have a gallery where we have pictures of the women and they can come and take a look and bring family and friends and celebrate them. And this lady here was one of the participants. So yeah, she had a great time in the studio, and yeah, and that's ongoing for 2023. So I'm
Okay, so you're
excited
still
about it.
accepting participants for this as well.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also her. She was here another time, and she got images with her daughter. So I do a lot of mother-daughter sessions as well. I do boudoir sessions, which it's more like intimate, sort of like the sexy images, like you want if you want to give them to your significant other. So those are always fun. I do branding and like for business. So this is a
Yeah.
piano teacher. She wanted new images for her website. So
Mm,
she updated her website with a new headshot and various images on the website, which she really loved. And she said a lot of her clients really gave great comments about the new website with the new images. Let's see,
great.
I do dating photos for people. Um, this gal flew in from California to get a session with me. So it's just been great to meet people from everywhere. This is
Yeah.
a recent session I did with a ballerina and her male dancer partner, which was really exciting because I haven't photographed a male dancer, um, much less a couple. So that was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an
And
amazing shot.
thank you. This might be one I'll submit to a competition.
Mhm.
That was really fun. More dance. I love doing dance and ballet. It's just so graceful and just so beautiful, and it fits my style really well.
Yes.
This more teenagers. I do like senior sessions, like high school seniors. A little bit more. Mine are a bit out of the ordinary. A lot of high school seniors like to do the outdoor sessions, which I do. I can do them, but not as often as I do in studio.
Mm.
And I do generation sessions with grandma, mom, and daughter, or sons. So yeah, the generation sessions are fun too. So yeah, that's what I have for now. Um,
Oh, those are great.
yeah, I'm glad to share with you.
Yes, outstanding. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing those with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just your work and your eye and how you see things. I guess everybody's born with a gift and a
Mm.
talent. It's clearly nourished yours. So
Oh, thank you.
kudos to you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Now,
interesting because that's something that it's still developed. Like when I first started taking portraits, I didn't, I guess I could see it, but it's been refined over time because now I can kind of right away I can tell, okay, that's not right, or that, in the beginning you just take pictures, but then
right.
you start to refine, the composition and the positioning of the body, and it just kind of happens over, you know, lots of practice and just over time and seeing the different images. I can have like three images of the same person,
Mhm.
take it one right after the other, but there's just a little subtle change or nuances between them where one will stand out to me more than the other two,
Mhm.
where a lot of people say, well, those three look the same to me, but there's just something, very subtle that I can see, whether
Mhm.
it's the expression or positioning that stands out more than the other. So
Yeah.
it takes time to, yeah, develop that, I guess.
Yeah, it's basically like you said, you're moving from basically taking pictures to more of an art form
Mhm.
as practice and you get better and you start to see things that other people can't see. Somebody looks at it like, oh, this is great. And then you're like, oh no, it could be better.
Yeah.
And then to be able to make it better. That's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
That's
Thanks. Yeah.
outstanding.
Mhm.
Now, I know that I remember back in one of our Synergy Project meetings some years ago, you talked about you were entertaining the idea of teaching.
Mhm.
And then it was it's so inspiring, and I was so excited for you when I found out you were actually teaching. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then you were traveling to teach, people as well. So tell us a little bit more about you educating other photographers.
Mhm. Yeah. So I remember actually, I think it was in 2017 or 18, I actually wrote it in a like a vision board or a journal where I want to teach other photographers.
Mm.
And it just kind of happened. Um, I remember, because I post my work on social media a lot, Facebook, Instagram. And, as I'm posting my work, I would get more and more photographers asking me, wow, how'd you do that? Or, can you give us some my tips, or how, do you teach? And I thought,
Yeah.
you know what, there's a demand. People actually want to learn this.
Mhm.
And part of me is like, well, I'm no teacher. How am I going to teach people? I have no idea, no clue how to do this. But then I just say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'll put it out there. And
Mhm.
I started offering online mentorship, like one-on-one online classes, like a 2-hour class. And I thought, okay, I'll put it out there and see what happens. And people started, here and there signing up. And I thought, oh, cool. So as I was teaching more and more people, I was refining, my teaching style and how I did it. And then I started offering in person, and I thought, okay, well, let's see if anybody wants to come to Boulder. And so yeah, I honestly just made it, I don't want to say I made it up, but I just kind of figured out, okay, this is what they want to learn. I teach them what I know and how I learned what I know. And yeah, it just kind of happened. So it's been
Yeah.
great. I love to teach. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. And, so yeah, I teach here in Boulder. I teach like full day workshops, where students will fly in to learn from me. I typically don't teach local photographers just because I want to try and keep the style. I don't want to make it too, what's the word?
Common. Or
Yeah, too common, I guess, or too many in a
yeah,
small area kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
You don't oversaturate anything. Yeah.
oversaturate, yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
So yeah, so most of my students come from out of state.
Okay.
Um, and then I have taught workshops in other states. So people ask me, when are you going to come into, you know, LA, or, wherever, East Coast, West Coast. So I started trying to plan workshops in other states. And I've been invited by a photography organization called Professional Photographers of America, where they offer resources and teaching to photographers who are members. And they've asked me to come out to teach in at their various chapters. So yeah, it's been fun, and it's a lot of work, but I
Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. Is there anything else that maybe I haven't asked that you want to share with the audience outside of, I'm definitely going to have you talk about how to get in touch with you, but I didn't know if there was something else you might want to share that I didn't mention.
Yeah, well, I guess as far as like photography in general, uh I've noticed over the years that it's become a bit undervalued,
Mhm.
because, and that can be the case with almost any artist, but because everyone has a camera in their hand, right, with an iPhone, or so a lot of people can just take pictures and feel like, well, this is good enough for a headshot, or this, I'm going to take a family portrait of the family with my phone, and then I'll have somebody else I'll jump in and get in the with the family. So, so yeah, and those are fine for, candid things, but I feel like, because everyone can take a picture, a lot of people feel like they shouldn't, or photography shouldn't cost very much. Uh,
Mm,
so, or they treat it like, oh, it's just your hobby, you shouldn't be charging, or. So it's unfortunate, but
mhm.
as an industry, and I've been in photography circles where we're trying to raise the value of it back up into,
Right.
a sustainable business for us folks who, this is a business, not a
Right.
hobby.
Yeah. And
And so,
that's the value of someone like yourself, because you're not taking pictures. This is
mm,
art. It's
yeah.
not just camera flashes. This is taking the time to make sure the lighting, the positioning, and everything is
Mhm.
correct. I mean, I know that because I've I've worked with you a couple
You've
times.
been in front of my camera, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and then just seeing the transition of what the end product looks like, and it is art that you do. It's not really just, just pictures or whatnot, and I have seen where people are just taking pictures, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, yeah, there's a huge difference from picture taking and the art behind
Mhm.
photography," and, yeah, there's not a whole lot of people that make it over, from what I've seen personally, to the art side of it, where
Mhm.
they've gone beyond just taking a picture.
Mhm.
So I think you all are well worth if you put that kind of attention and into your expertise and into your art,
Yeah.
then I say you're well worth every penny of
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Because I can't do that. You
Yeah.
really come close to doing that.
Right. Well, and there's just so much that goes into, some people think you're just hitting the button on the camera but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
you're paying for your equipment and your insurance, and there's a lot of costs in running a business, right? And so,
Yes. I
as
was
you
shocked
know,
at how much cameras cost. I had no idea.
yeah.
Until I was talking to you once and another friend of mine, and they were saying how much they spent on equipment. And I was just mind blown
Mhm.
that a camera could cost that much, but it's because it's not just your
Mhm.
clicker camera
Yeah.
that you picked
Yeah.
up from Walmart
Well,
kind of.
and I've had the camera I use, I've been using the same camera basically since I started my business in
Mhm.
2017. So how many years is that now? I'm due for an upgrade, but
Yeah,
you know, and
your
I'm not,
investment. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not one of those equipment happy people who just buy the latest and greatest all the time because
right,
that doesn't that's not what makes a good photographer.
right.
Um, but yeah, there are times when, yeah, there are maintenance costs and you do have to upgrade at some point. The camera is going to quit working, so I'm going to
Right.
have to.
And you're running a business too, so
Yeah,
all the time just constantly upgrading your equipment or updating your equipment is not the best for your bottom line either.
right, right. Well, and then there's the software, and you have to pay, monthly subscription fees for
Right.
the software. So yeah, you know, when you run a business, there's a lot of costs involved. So yeah, you do have to charge for your work, and you have to make a living. So um,
Yeah.
so I may not be for the person who's just price shopping for a
Right.
photographer,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people who value it and who appreciate the work that goes into it, and that's
Yeah.
great. Mhm.
I'd say it is definitely worth it. You're worth it. It's
Thank you.
your work is
Thanks.
phenomenal. So
I appreciate it.
yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to ask is if you could share with the audience how what the best way is to get in touch with you, if it's via phone number, email, your website, or however. So feel free to share with us.
Yeah, well, I'll make it easy here, and um let's see, I'll share my little information there that can be
Okay, there we go.
quick by email, my website, it's barbaramcferrin.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Just, type in Barbara McFerrin, I should pop up. Then you can see my work and then ask any questions. And I have contact forms on there. So yeah, I'd love to chat with you and see what you're looking for in a session, whether it's family, individual, boudoir, headshots, yeah, you name it. I do almost everything except weddings and newborns. Kind of
Understood.
like I don't do the windows. Yeah. Yeah. So
Totally
yeah, wedding photography is a whole other beast where
is a whole nother beast. Yeah.
it's that requires someone with a lot of energy to do, like be out there for 8 or 9 hours
Yeah.
doing a wedding. So
And
yeah.
dealing with a lot of random emotions too, I
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, they're a ton of work, so yeah, not for me, but yeah, and I do bridal portraits though. If someone wanted to come in and have a really
Mm,
classic um
right.
heirloom piece,
Yeah,
wall of them in their bridal gown, then that's something I can do for sure.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
cool.
thank you very much for taking the time to come on
Sure.
and share with us, Barbara. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your work and look forward to seeing more of your phenomenal photography.
Hey, thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate you and what you're doing with Galt. And yeah, I've been really honored to be a part of your team now for however many years it's been. Uh,
Yeah, we've been honored to have you. Yeah, you're
mm,
totally honored to have you. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Until next time, this is Galt University.